Hey everyone, so I posted this article this morning about how data observability does more harm than good, and this is a topic that we've been, chatting with customers about for the last, few months. And the thing that we found is that teams working in the data stack are building models and are constantly improving and getting better and scaling really, really quickly. However, what's happening is that as they scale, design decisions that they made early on are really coming back to impact them and their team, whether it's with dbt core, dbt cloud, the way they built out their model and their infrastructure, maybe on Snowflake or on Databricks, starts to create a lot of issues. Costs start to skyrocket pretty quickly. You have model layers that become more of a mess and really hard to understand what's happening. And what we found is that teams start to put in observability tools. And while it sounds like a great idea, given really clear visibility into what's happening, the downstream effects are actually much worse than that. And the reason for that is because what ends up happening is, one, you start to get all these notifications. You start to think, wow, I actually know what's happening. But these notifications have zero context. They're pretty rigid and pre-filtered in what they could even tell you about. And all they do is they tell you and your team that something went wrong and that you have to go figure out what's happening. And what that does is it takes a lot away from your team. Your team is now split between getting notifications and trying to figure out problems and actually trying to provide real business value for your organization. And so as teams continue to build out, these notifications just don't do any of the investigation. It's purely just a learning of the problem. Now, where we really see the next generation of observability and what we're building at Artemis is going from how do we just tell you a problem to actually providing you with the solution? Because we don't want your team to have to worry about what your stack's doing, how it's optimized, how it's working, but rather what we want is that you and your team should be able to get a notification, have the answer already provided, and then actually approve that answer and get back to doing what they were. Not even have to worry about it and having your platform really fix itself while you sleep, so to speak. And how we do that? Now, in our platform, the way we actually accomplish that is through a knowledge graph. And the way we do that is when we integrate with your tools, we're able to break down those models and queries into what's called ASTs, or otherwise known as data symbols. And those data symbols each comprise and build out this really complex but also visual representation of your data stack. And that knowledge graph tells us and tells the platform, but also tells you what's going on. It finds insights across how many models are being executed, how these models are efficient, how you can optimize those models, or even just simple things like where your documentation's at, how many testing, where's your testing set up, how is it integrated with the rest of your stack. And so we're able to give you those insights that an observability tool would tell you, but we're different in one key unique difference and key way, which is we pair that with an action engine. So we give you one side of the platform, which is insights of what's going on in your stack, how you can fix it, how it can be better. But rather than just being a problem and a nuisance in this, in your Slack channel, we then go the full distance, which is saying with this one specific problem, let's actually provide an action and a task. And that here is where you can find in our task list. So let's say you have a job that's running. It broke overnight. You wake up. In an observability platform, you would just wake up to a Slack notification saying, hey, this job broke. And essentially what that means is you're going to spend the rest of your morning digging into the details, going through, inefficient error notes and, logs to figure out why it's happening and trying to debug how do I fix this without breaking everything else in the pipelines around it because it's so interdependent. Now, with our platform, with Artemis, what happens is you get these insights, you have this command center, and these insights that you could always be working on all the time. But as things start to break, you're going to get these insights, and with each insight comes a task. And with that task comes a PR and a trajectory to that solution. So you can actually dive right in and see, okay, how did Artemis solve that task? How did our action engine actually go from context, knowledge graph, problem to solution presented to you in the form of a PR that you just approve in your morning of? So we're able to take that paradigm and make it way faster, way easier for you so that you can stop worrying about what's going on and actually just focus continuously on delivering value for your team, for your organization. So if that's something that's interesting to you, if you're tired of the Slack fatigue and notifications with zero context, reach out. We're happy to help.